the council prayer, please. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Here.
Councilor Lenzi.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Mayor Kulf.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Conrad Gauthier, a resident of the Centerville section and an avid volunteer who is always willing to help out in the community. He requested the help from our Middlesex County Sheriff's Department, from our community service clients, to help with different cleanup and beautification projects in Centerville. Mr. Gauthier was a member of the CNAG Centerville Neighborhood Action Group, Lowell Beautification Committee, and Christmas in April. Conrad proudly served in the Marine Corps, having attained the rank of corporal. He is survived by his wife, Patricia, with whom he would have celebrated 50 years of marriage. He leaves behind 3 children and 7 grandchildren. He will be truly missed, and according to Anne Marie Page, he was the pillar of the community in the Centerville neighborhood area. They're truly devastated by his loss. He beautified the city, one island, one corner at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. The mayor would also like to offer a moment of silence for John E. Sullivan, retired Lowell police captain, a loving and devoted husband and father. John was also an avid runner, having belonged to the Greater Lowell Road Runners Club. The Boston Marathon was his passion, and he ran and completed 12 of those Boston Marathons since 1987 to 1998. And also for retired Lowell Fire Department Chief John J. Mulligan, retired Lowell Fire Chief, a loving and devoted husband, father, grandfather. Mr. Mulligan served his country with pride and distinction in the United States Navy during World War II. Both of these men were role models and highly respected for their leadership in the Lowell Police Department and the Lowell Fire Department. May we all rise and have a moment of silence for these 3 outstanding individuals. Thank you. May they rest in peace. Now the chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask for suspension of the rules to allow Terry Downs from Middlesex Community College to address the council. He's involved with the program on Homeland Security. He's the executive director on Homeland Security, and there's an important seminar taking place. I think it's free to the public, and it's very important. I think it's like a public safety issue, and it's a...
Do I have a second on the request? Seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of the suspension of the rules, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Suspensions are in order. Mr. Downs, you're welcome to come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Mercier. I appreciate the opportunity to appear, and thank the council for waiving the rules. Mr. Mayor, as you and the council know, September is National Preparedness Month in the United States. In observance of the month, Middlesex Community College and the Lowell Office of Emergency Management are partnering to offer to the residents of the Greater Lowell area a free public safety planning seminar. It will be held tomorrow evening, Wednesday, at 6:30 p.m., starting at 6:30 p.m. at the MCC Morse Federal Building at 50 Kearney Square in downtown Lowell. The speaker will be retired Lowell Fire Department safety expert Paul Cronk. Paul, as you know, is now an adjunct professor at Middlesex. He'll make emergency planning for individuals and families simple and understandable. So we hope to encourage people in the city to come join us and see how easy it is under Paul Cronk's guidance to know how to set up a simple, sensible emergency plan for your family. We were talking about this issue just last week, and one of the folks from the Emergency Management Office was saying, think how many of the survivors of Hurricane Ike down south last week would have liked to have had an emergency plan but didn't have one because they didn't know how to set them up. So Paul Cronk will help people understand how to do that. People do not have to register. We welcome people to walk in. We'll have a lot of people there, but we encourage anyone in Lowell or the greater Lowell area who would like to join us. So it's tomorrow night, September 24th, 6:30 p.m. at the Morse Federal Building at 50 Kearney Square. It'll all wrapped up by about 8:30 p.m. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and again, thank you, Councilor Mercier and members of the council for the chance.
Thank you,
to speak.
Mr. Downs. Thank you. While we're under the suspension of the rules, Gunther Wallenstein, Director of Recycling, would like to address the council and the viewers at home about Household Hazardous Waste Day. Gunther?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councilors, for your time this evening, and Mr. Manager for allowing me to come and advertise our event this weekend. This Saturday, 9 a.m. at Colley Stadium, we will host our second annual, so it's the semi-annual Hazardous Waste Day collection for residents. And these are residents if you have city trash or not city trash. So any city resident can come. No commercial vehicles, it's an important stipulation. Enter through Douglas Road, and we do have a long list of items that can come from the house. This is for oil-based paints, lacquers, thinners, solvents, pesticides, herbicides, things that you might find under the kitchen cabinet, under the bathroom cabinet. We do want to do our best to get these out of the waste stream, get them out of the sewers. So bring the hazardous waste to the event at Colley Stadium. We will not accept latex paint, so that is a different issue, and disposal of latex paint can be found on the city's website, a link to the recycling office. In addition, we do collect mercury items, which are also hazardous to the environment, mercury thermometers, thermostats from the house, and the compact fluorescent bulbs and 4-foot tubes that you might have in a workshop area. So it's a great opportunity to clean the skeletons out of the basement, the garage, and the shed, and bring them for proper disposal. And the event is free. The gate does close promptly at 1 p.m. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you very much, Gunther. We want to thank you for your dedication and hard work on this very important issue.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Council Broderick?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It says on the sheet here, but for people at home, what are people going to need? It's for residents only, proof of residency?
Yes, we will have somebody at the entrance gate that is checking driver's license, so we do need to see Lowell residency upon entry. And I know that in past there has been a long line. We have set up a system for an express line, so if you're bringing mercury items, automotive batteries, and CRTs, TVs and monitors, that you don't need to stand in the whole line. When you check in, just ask for the express line. That will assist greatly.
Thank you. Any other questions for Gunther? Before I entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting, Councilor Elliott brought it to my attention. Save the date, October 4th, 2008, 7 to 11 p.m. at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, the Mayor's Harvest Ball. The tickets are $25, and the purpose of this event is to help the Merrimack Valley Food Bank. Last year, this is an unbelievable figure, but last year the Merrimack Valley Food Bank distributed 2,300,000 pounds of food to people in need, and this year it'll be even greater. So if you're interested in obtaining tickets, you can go to the Owl Diner on Appleton Street, the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce on Merrimack Street, Lowell Memorial Auditorium, the East Merrimack Street, the Mayor's Office, City Hall, Convention and Visitors Bureau, 9 Central Street, and the Merrimack Valley Food Bank at 735 Broadway. It's going to be a nice evening of entertainment, but more importantly, we're going to help people who are in need for 2009. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if I could also take advantage of this opportunity to announce the a partnership that we have coming up also on October 4th with a Heart Walk here in the city. If I could ask
Yes,
Mr. Sheehan to
definitely.
give the details on that.
Thank you. The American Heart Association is sponsoring the second annual Merrimack Valley Heart Walk on Saturday, the 4th of October. This year, the walk is being dedicated in memory of Andy St. Onge, and trying to get a group together, or a series of groups together from the city, and raise some money for heart research. And so anybody that's available and like to walk with us, that would be great. If you're unable to walk but you'd like to make a contribution, you can do that also by contacting anybody that's walking. You can give me a call at City Hall at 970-4000 or online through the American Heart Association.
Andy, I'll be part of your team. I'll be walking with you. And anyone else who would like to join in, it's for a great cause as well. Now, let's move on with the agenda. Communication, motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. Accept those minutes and place them on file. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been accepted and placed on file. Moving on with the agenda, communications from City Manager Lynch, response to council motions. Any discussion? Councilor Kazanjian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to the manager. I've got a couple of calls on Tanner Street. I guess there was a problem there at 117 Tanner Street where somebody walked into the place of business and stole the individual's pocketbook. And I just wonder if we can get some more police presence down there, if it's possible.
Is that did I have something in here on?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay, yeah, certainly
Yeah.
we can.
Okay. And one other thing, East Merrimack Street, I've talked to two business owners that called me up, and there's problems. I guess the parking meters are getting tagged all the time. Is there something that can be done for the business owners over there? I know there's the Davidson lot's full all the time. They have no parking over there, and they're being constantly tagged. Is there something that could be done?
Well,
Is there something you can look into and just...
we can certainly look at that. The Davidson Street lot right now has been closed off while we're doing some construction in that area, but
Right.
that will be opening up. There has been plenty of room in the garage nearby, but hopefully the Davidson Street lot, I think we do have some communications in here on that, and that will be opening up in the very near future, and that should alleviate some of that problem, but we can certainly explore other options
If
as
you can
well.
look into it, yeah. It's been going on for quite some time, so if you can check into it. Thank you.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I have a question on the memo about the flood insurance update that was in the packet. The memo indicates, I guess, residents who are affected got a notice. They've had opportunity to raise an objection. We've only had apparently 2 people that have requested those that had some sort of appeal. So this is moving forward. And what I suspect is going to be the case is people really don't pay attention to this until it hits them in the pocketbook when they get a notice from their mortgage company telling them they now need to buy flood insurance, and it's maybe too late to appeal at that point. I've also known some folks that have had to go through this process over the years, and it's not a simple thing to do to appeal to FEMA. It does say in the memo that eventually this will come back to the council for approval. But I'm wondering what recourse we're going to have at that time if we haven't objected all along. So, is there a role for us to play here in pushing back at FEMA? And do we know how many buildings are going to be affected that don't require flood insurance now, but that are going to require them in the future, because I really think this is going to be something that is going to hit hard all at once, perhaps after it's too late to do something about it.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the process, the FEMA sets a fairly high bar in order to appeal their determination of a floodplain or floodplain elevation. And it is, there are a couple of different levels of appeal of floodplain. The typical homeowner appeal is an appeal subject just to their property, and it's essentially you're arguing that your property is not in the floodplain, and you have to submit proof in the form of an elevation certificate, which a surveyor prepares, and that's typically on the order of maybe $1,000 or $2,000. The appeal that is discussed in the memorandum in the packets is the appeal of the entire restudy of the watershed, and that is there's an extremely high bar for that, and that is predicated, or any appeal is predicated on a scientific analysis or engineering analysis that there was some sort of a defect with the methodology used to study the flood elevation, and it is well beyond what any homeowner can do, and is really quite an extensive engineering review that would be done. You are correct that this will have to come back to the council as the local legislative body to adopt the new floodplain elevation, and that will be done, or is typically done at two levels. One would be a zoning, and one would be as a just administrative level. Failure for the city to adopt the new floodplain elevation would put all property owners in the floodplain that do require flood insurance. It would put their eligibility for flood insurance in jeopardy. So there's a consideration has to be given to the vote that the council would be facing.
Right, which leads me to my point of, so why aren't we objecting to this now? I mean, if it's beyond the capacity of a resident to do it, and when it comes back to us, we're really going to have no choice, or we take everybody out of the program, shouldn't we be resisting this now? And, we can challenge all the methodology that we want, but what's wrong with the decision that we've had two terrible floods, the worst that we've seen here in 50 or 60 years, and this neighborhood didn't flood? I mean, it's, I think that people, that should be some consideration given to that.
Yeah, I can't answer the question as to why that area is included when it didn't flood in the last two significant events, and I don't know. I see that Lisa is here, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but I don't know if she has an answer for that either.
There are more areas this year that are in the floodplain under the new study because they're not considering the levee as participating in protection because of the pump station not being operating. Up until last year, we didn't have the vegetation cleared. So there were three conditions that we were given. If you want this levee to participate in the flood protection, you need to do these things. We didn't have time or the resources to get them done in this time frame. So the new study did not consider the fact that the levee exists.
Right. Well, to me, that's something we should be litigating. I mean, I don't think we should just roll over for that. I mean, so by the time that issue's resolved, that levee is functioning now. The vegetation's been removed, and it didn't meet their deadline, but it works now. So why are these residents going to force to incur additional costs?
Well, I think if I may, and certainly we can explore the litigation aspect. I know that we participated in a number of the meetings that took place regarding this new mapping. The issue that Ms. DeMaio just referenced is the work items that the federal government had instructed the city to take for a number of years. And by and large, the city ignored those actions. When I came on, as I said, this was actually discussed at the flood subcommittee a little bit earlier tonight, back in 2006, when we did a tour of the Centerville, the Beaver Brook area. The Army Corps of Engineers came with letters that they had sent the prior year and the year before that had never been acknowledged. And so we immediately put a plan in place to do the vegetation work and to do the testing of the levee and to do an analysis of the pump station. It's been determined that the pump station should be reconstructed, and the levee work does need to take place. So we are moving forward. We have an action plan to do that. But I think part of what certainly has hurt the city is that these were actions that were supposed to have been done for a number of years and were not done. But we can certainly explore further remedies to deal with this.
I understand the history, and you know, when I was the mayor in the first flood,
Yep.
FEMA came, and that I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Never rang true more,
Right.
because all they do is tell you where you're deficient in your existing stuff. There was no help to be had, and this is going to be even worse now, I think, for residents. So. And I think it's to the city's credit that we've started to implement some of these things, but I don't think we should just be rolling over here and letting them change this flood map when most of the work that we need to do to correct the problem is either well underway or, in some cases, completed. And I think we should get some credit for that.
Councilor, could I suggest something? I think you brought out a very important point. Refer this to a subcommittee and really study it in depth.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. It's, or even refer it to the law department for their recommendation on what to do.
Law department and any subcommittee that'd like to weigh in on this too. I think it's a very important issue, and I'm happy you brought that up.
Okay.
So we'd like to refer this issue to the law department, come back with a report, and
maybe the report can then go to the appropriate subcommittee when we get it back.
all in favor of that motion? It was
Thank
seconded
you.
by Councilor Kazanjian. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries, and we'll be looking forward to that report. And Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you for the report on the handicap ramps downtown. You indicated that all of the handicap ramps are going to be addressed, especially the one at Middle and Central Street, and I'm very happy to hear that because actually that handicap ramp is not ADA approval, so I want to thank you for that. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, there's a city marketing update in here, and I just wanted to refer that to the marketing subcommittee at some point when it's appropriate, maybe when, what are you anticipating for the action?
We're
items?
doing the single source was the selected firm. They come with quite a bit of local knowledge, doing work for a number of businesses in the community, as well as the Convention and Visitors Bureau and some other organizations in the city. They're doing their preliminary work over the course of the next month, so I think that they may have some ideas ready to report something out that we can bring to the marketing subcommittee in November.
Great. Timing's good. There's a lot of good things going, so if we can keep it moving. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussions on the communications for Manager Lynch? If not, accept the communications and place them on file by Council Rita Mercer, seconded by Council Alma Mercer. All in favor of accepting the communications and place them on file, signify by saying aye. Those communications have been accepted and approved. I will ask the council if we could take something out of sequence, and that would be the Hamilton Canal District land disposition, and we would have to automatically come in with the subcommittee report on that particular issue. But we have many people here who are going to be representing or talking or discussing on this issue.
Motion to take
And
out
it's
of
up-
order.
Motion to take the Hamilton Canal District out of order, seconded by Council Broderick. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and the chair would recognize Councilor Bilmont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Milanazzo is the chairman of this subcommittee, couldn't be here tonight, but the Economic Development Subcommittee did meet to discuss the land disposition agreement at length. Councilor Kazanjian and Councilor Lenzi are also members of that subcommittee, and I know Councilor Broderick and I think some other councilors were present at the meeting as well. Since we're going to have a presentation about this, is that the plan, or? No. No? All right. Well,
We can, if-
I mean, if other members of the council are interested in that, I know folks are here, but the land disposition agreement transfers, sets up a schedule of transferring the balance of the property in the Hamilton Canal District to Trinity Financial Development Corporation. The aggregate price, I believe, is approximately $7 million, although from that there are some purchase price reductions depending on the extent of environmental cleanup that takes place. There are time frames where Trinity needs to complete development. The first phase, I believe, has to be underway within 14 months. The second phase within 5 years, and the total project completed within 10 years. Overall, I think a lot of councilors had a lot of questions about the schedule, about the cleanup, about the timing, and about Trinity's commitment to get this done. Those issues were discussed at length at the subcommittee, and after I thought a very good discussion and deliberation, a lot of back and forth, the subcommittee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the land disposition agreement. So I know people are here to answer questions. I'm happy to answer questions on behalf of the subcommittee, and I know the manager's able to entertain questions as well. But the recommendation of the subcommittee is to approve the land disposition agreement.
Manager Lynch?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just I think the Councilor Martin's description, a summary of the subcommittee meeting has really covered all the bases. Just a couple of points, though, that I think, and of course we've talked about the Hamilton Canal project for some time now, over the last couple of years, and certainly the last year since Trinity was chosen to be the master developer. And I think a lot has to be said for the process that's been undertaken by Trinity and by the Division of Planning and Development over that period of time to develop the master plan, which all the councilors have received, and seeing the extent of the project that will take place there in terms of the investment, several $100 million, somewhere in the vicinity of $600 to $700 million, as well as bringing, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 600 new residential units into that area, with some 400,000 plus square feet of commercial space. I think the total amount of square footage we're talking about in that area, that parcel of land, is about 2.5 million square feet that we're actually talking about. Of course, we have the agreement already with the state for the new courthouse. And I think it's important to point out that when this city council took the steps that they took, this and prior city councils, to move this project forward, they were really being ambitious, they were being innovative, and they were looking to do something that would really move the city forward. And they did it with the understanding that jobs would be created in that area, that the costs that the city incurred in purchasing the land would probably, it may lose money, a little bit of money, or it may break even, but at least it would produce those jobs and produce about $2.5 million of tax revenue when it was completed. Going through the process, that improved over time, and we're now looking at the actual net to the city being somewhere in the vicinity of, we're estimating anywhere from 3.8 to 9.8 million, probably looking at a total net to the city of about $5 million, and offsetting the costs that we had in terms of acquiring the site and preparing it for development. But in addition, and I think notably, there are more jobs that we're expecting now that will be created at that site, and we're looking at tax revenue that is almost double what we had anticipated, or what the city had anticipated in 2004 with the proposal that we've been able to work out with Trinity Financial. We're now looking at about $4 million in additional tax revenue to the city when this project is completed. So I think this is certainly a win for the city. I think it's we made the right choice in picking Trinity Financial. I'm very comfortable with the decision that we made in bringing them forward as the master developer. It's been a difficult negotiation process as we've battled out issue after issue, but we did it throughout that period of time with the with the purpose of putting together a proposal, putting together a project that will benefit the city in the long run, and I'm very comfortable with that. And I think we're all anxious to see this move forward. We're certainly anxious to see the first phase of this taking place within the next, starting within the next 14 months, and that's why this project is being brought into you tonight, rather than waiting till the next meeting or the meeting after that. We want Trinity to be able to go in there and get the necessary financing. They're starting with a couple of the more challenging parts of the project, the Appleton Mill as well as the Freudenberg building. And I think that this is, it's achieving what was intended when the project was first started some 10 years ago, and then again when it was sort of reworked 5 years ago to be more of a mixed-use development. And it will transform the city, and I think it will move the city. It certainly moves the city forward in the right direction. So I'm very pleased to bring this to you tonight. There's been a lot of hard work that's gone into this by Adam Bakey, by the DPD staff, by the city solicitor's office, and I'm just very pleased with the work that's been done and the result of it. And I guess Trinity's done some work on it as well, so we thank them for their efforts.
Do we have any of the councils who want to discuss this or weigh in before we have people come to the podium? Any discussion? Council Kazanjian?
Thank you, Mayor. And I was on the subcommittee, and I did vote to approve it to come to this board, and I think it's a great plan. I just have a couple of questions for the manager. He answered one of my questions. I just was going to ask the manager if he felt that Trinity was a right fit for this project, and with the economic times we have, they're large enough to handle this, and in 5 years from now, we're not going to have a problem with Trinity Group at all.
Okay. No, and Council, I think that's a great question. I think that's certainly a question that everyone has at the front of their minds. And I do think that as we've told the history of how we got to Trinity, we had a number of, I believe it was 7 nationally known development entities that came forward. That was narrowed down to 3. We had, and again, the other 2, in addition to Trinity, had extensive experience doing these types of projects. But Trinity brought with them a couple of things that we felt were notable. One, a track record here in Massachusetts, dealing with Massachusetts state government as well as the communities that they worked in putting together very complex projects, identifying funding opportunities, both from the private investment world as well as from the public sector. And they did projects that truly transformed the neighborhoods that they and the cities that they were put in, and that's what we were looking for this project. They also had a high level of interest in civic participation in the process and working in a team-like fashion with the city, and we felt that, and with the citizens, and we felt that that was very important because of the commitment we made to the residents and the businesses of the city that this would be a very participatory process. And then lastly, they offered us the best financial deal. And so when we weighed it all, it really was it was important to us that it was the best financial deal, certainly, but the fact that they had the track record of making these projects happen and having them achieve not only the goal of completion, but the goal of transforming, we thought was really made them the perfect match for us.
Okay, there's no question about it. They're doing a good job so far. If you feel confident that they'll complete the job in 10 years from now,
Yes.
like an $800 million project, then I'm comfortable if you're
I am very
confident.
comfortable.
Also, we talked at the subcommittee meeting, and Adam Backey and yourself mentioned that it's not going to cost the taxpayers any money at all.
That is correct.
That's correct?
That is correct.
I just wanted to make sure that's... And lastly, it's a local project. If we can get local jobs for the local people over here, I would like to see if we can push that as much as we possibly can. I'm just tired of getting we have these big projects in the city, and we get out-of-town individuals, and we have a lot of Lowell people that need work here.
Absolutely. I think that, there's certainly going to be cases where people that don't reside in the city are going to be doing parts of this project. But again, you know, I think it's evidence of Trinity's commitment to the city. They've been working closely with the construction people on apprenticeship programs and working with local vendors on all aspects of the this process. And there's a commitment on the part of Trinity that we've seen, again, that's impressed us to know that they're interested in making this a local project.
I think it's a great project, and I'm anxious to see it completed, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager or the chief financial officer, when we went to purchase these 10.9 acres, if my memory serves me correct, it was approximately, was it 3.6 million for the entire lot? We went out and took a bond, a note for that. Once this agreement goes through, will we retire that loan order, or is that rolled into a series of other long-term notes? Because if I remember, I mean, I voted for this because I thought it was the right thing to do rather than go piece by piece, parcel by parcel, and sort of just, you know, see what we can get. Going through this master plan process, putting in a first-class developer to do it in essentially 3 phases in a very comprehensive way was the right way to go. We made a good investment at the time if we're selling this for $7 million, and we paid 3.6, but we want to make sure that we're going to retire this debt with the proceeds from the sale.
We will be using the proceeds to retire the debt. We've actually already begun to retire the debt. Over the last 2 years, we've amortized some principal, and while we did originally borrow $3.6 million, the principal is now down to about $3.1 million.
Thank you. I'm going to support this. I took the vote a number of years ago to go this route, and I think the developers have gone through great lengths to make sure there was no rush, that we're putting in a solid plan, and at a time where it was difficult. So I think this is one of the premier developments, I think, not only in the city but in the state, that is going to prove significant results at a time. We're ready to go with this in the next 14 months. I can only imagine other communities are hopeful and thinking of this. And I think this is going to serve as a model on big development projects in communities for future, in the future. So I think, again, we're at the cutting edge of a development project that we will see direct benefits and results in a very short time. So, the results and the tax revenue and the economic benefits to this community are going to be terrific. So,
Thank you, Council.
thank you.
Council Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just speaking as a newer councilor and coming in the middle of this and getting up to speed and educating myself, I'm very comfortable with the relationship that we've nurtured with Trinity and the meetings and the openness of the meetings and the residents. These certainly are challenging times, and probably the good thing is that maybe we're close to a bottom here somewhere in the next several months, and that when this project really gets steamrolling, the economy should be on its way back up. So I think we can be optimistic that the timing will turn out to be better than maybe you think today or tomorrow. The other challenge along the way, and the administration has done a very fine job, but I have to compliment Adam Backey, and it was said at the meeting, the subcommittee meeting, that the only thing more challenging than this project is to find a question that Adam can't answer. And I think that's been...
we all agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's been a security blanket for me, and that Adam seems to always have these figures and these explanations, and seems to be completely in control of this project and the situation, no matter which way we turn. So I voted for this. It was a unanimous vote by the subcommittee, and I intend to support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Council Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm rather excited about this project, having seen an area of the city all my life that has long since been forgotten, and to undertake a project of that size is remarkable. I'm looking forward to seeing each step advance to the point where the other day I saw 2 men with suits walking up Middlesex Street, and it was quite out of the ordinary, wasn't it? And over the weekend, we had a garage sale. We didn't actually sell the garage, but we had a garage sale with Jambra, the very neighborhood business resident group of that area of the city that's overseeing it. And it was a rather dull area that turned vibrant and alive and brought people from all over, and it brought life and spirit back into that neighborhood. And I say that is just the beginning, and I'm looking to see the transformation, and I move approval. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real briefly, I'll echo the sentiments of most of the council here that, I think it's been a better than anticipated and hoped for result, and it's been a partnership, I think, with the administration, the solicitor's office, Adam Backey, who's done a wonderful job in his department as well, and Trinity, who has really come out and engaged the public. I don't think there was a neighborhood meeting that I went to that they weren't there, it seemed, and they really did a lot of outreach and worked hard to engage the public in the neighborhoods and satisfy people and come up with the best product. And I hope that will continue once the agreement's done, and I'm sure it will. And but I think it was a very good result, and I plan on supporting it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Of course, there was never any doubt in my mind once Trinity was picked, particularly when you hear that Frank Keefe was involved with Trinity, a fellow that I voted for city manager, that would have been a success. But I just want to remind Councilor Rita Mercia that when Barney's was open, we had a lot of men with suits walk on Middlesex Street. A lot of them. And a couple of them are over here already this evening. But I wholeheartedly agree with the recommendation of the subcommittee. There was never a doubt in my mind that this would be a great project. The proof of it now is going to be the implementation of it under these dark times that we're having throughout the country. But if anyone can do this, Trinity can do it, especially with the cooperation that they have from the city manager's office and particularly Adam Backey. I just hope we don't lose Adam Backey to Trinity, because that would be a real shame. But anyway, I wholeheartedly support this. I think it'll move forward, and I'm looking forward to its implementation stage. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I just have one brief question. Mr. Manager, on the infrastructure.
Yes.
Would the Trinity Financial be responsible for the infrastructure, sidewalks, streets, water lines, sewage, and so forth? That's just one question I have.
They will be responsible for working out the funding of that. The agreement is structured in such a way, some of the funding sources that the state or federal government provides may require that the money come to the city, and then we would do the necessary contracting to get the work done. But the city is not obligated to spend any of its money to put that infrastructure in place.
Thank you. While other communities are facing an economic downturn and communities are struggling, this city is moving forward with one of the largest developments in its history. And I think that's a credit to everyone. The Lynch administration, Department of Planning Development, and Adam Backey. I echo everything that the council has said. You're just a wonderful, dedicated employee, and you have the answers to all the questions. But it's an involvement with Trinity, it's involvement with the city. This is not just a development for a neighborhood. This is for the entire city. And as Councilor Rita Mercia pointed out, the neighborhood's been neglected too long. And with nothing else said, Mr. Keefe, would you like to come to the podium and say a few words? If not, you can stay. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Broderick?
Just real briefly, I think it's important that we acknowledge the delegation. It just came to mind as we're in for a $10 million bond in the governor's
Yes.
bond, and that's what's going to help pay for the infrastructure for Mr. Keefe. Hopefully, it's up to him to go and get it now, but, you know, they're on board 100%, and this wouldn't be going forward, as you mentioned, in these tough economic times if we didn't have them down there fighting for us.
I'm happy
to
you
get the
brought that
money.
out, because I did forget. And, Councilor Lindsay?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, City Manager Lynch, I can't tell you enough how grateful we are for all the support that you've given us over the past 12 months. Many of you I had a chance to talk with and to meet with, and particularly you, Mayor, on a number of occasions have taken me under your wing and given me some pretty good advice in terms of how to go about doing this.
Thank you.
The other day, we had an event out in the out at the site involving the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Some of you might have been there, some of you might have heard about it. And it was the day the stock market came back by 800 points for a bright, shining moment. And I tend to be an optimist, and I tend to think that, well, we've all been through this before at one time or another, and we will get through this again. But what I found discomforting about it, and I know that many of you mentioned this to me as we met over the past 12 months, is people congratulated us. And a number of people congratulated us and what we had accomplished. And what we've accomplished is that we have a great plan. We have a wonderful, wonderful plan that reflects the input of many people in this room. Some people came to every single one of the meetings. I know many of you participated and gave us great, great advice. And it is a great and exciting plan, and it will have a transformative effect. But it's just a plan. And the real challenge for us is to get this project started. I know that's of paramount interest to all of you and the citizens of Lowell, and we're going to do everything we can to implement this vision that I know you all worked very hard on long before we came. And I know we have a tremendous responsibility, and I just hope that we can live up to the confidence that you've expressed in us. Again, thank you very much.
You're welcome. The chair would like to recognize Attorney Philip Nyman. If you want to come to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really, and I appreciate the recognition, but I really think that I've watched this evolve. I've seen the way the council's handled it. I've seen the way the administration's handled it. Mr. Backey is just remarkable in terms of the capacity of his mind. And I just think this is a great thing to move Lowell forward, and I think it's a great tribute to all of you for encouraging this to go forward and make it a success. And I congratulate everybody and thank you on behalf of my client.
Thank you, Attorney Nyman. Before I entertain a motion to adopt the recommendation from the subcommittee, Councilor Broderick brought out a good point. The Lowell delegation, Senator Panagiotakis, Representative Murphy, Representative Nangle, Representative Golden. Nothing really happens in this city without their blessing. And they've been there through thick and thin, whether it's the new schools, the Hamilton Canal, refurbishing our parks and playgrounds. They have been outstanding, and they're respected immensely at Beacon Hill. I'll entertain a motion now to accept the recommendation from Council Martin and the Economic Subcommittee as a vote of approval, seconded by Council Broderick. I'll entertain a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Now I'll read the vote. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a land disposition agreement with Trinity Hamilton Canal Limited Partnership regarding 10.9 acres of property located in the area of and pursuant to the Jackson-Appleton Middlesex Jam Urban Revitalization and Development Plan, and to consummate the sale and disposition of said property in accordance with the terms of the land disposition agreement. Any discussion, any questions? If not, roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian?
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Congratulations. Thank you. Now we're going to go into the public hearings. Appeal of denial curb cut Connector Park Holdings LLC, Wellman Street and Composite Way. Anyone wishing to come to the podium to speak in favor, please give us your name and address. You'll have 5 minutes or less to make your presentation.
Hopefully I can comply, Your Honor. Mayor Caulfield and members of the council, Manager Lynch, George Fiolides, Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell. I'm here this evening with Brian Clancy, representing Connector Park Holding LLC. They are the folks who, it seems like a long, long time ago, brought to the city the idea that next to their property, which is referred to as the Twin Towers up on Chelmsford Street, they wanted to bring a Lowe's Home Improvement Center. It's been a long haul. I just checked my file again. We were before then Chairman Kazanjian, now Councilor Kazanjian, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the decision was rendered January 2007. As I think you know, there were some appeals along the way and whatever, but we've gotten by there. And Brian's working diligently in behalf of the owner-developer, which is Connector Park, to accommodate Lowe's so they can get building right away. One of the things we need is what we're here for before the council this evening. We need 2 curb cuts, one on Wellman Street. Wellman is the street that's perpendicular to Chelmsford Street at the site, and the other on Composite Way, that's to the rear of the property. Those curb cuts that we have exceed 32 feet. That's, they were the plans that they were on the part of the plans that were approved by both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. They are automatically denied because they exceed that which is allowed under the city ordinance. And for that reason, once they're denied, we're required to come before this august body to give us permission to make those 2 curb cuts. I'll just quickly say that the Composite Way curb cut is in the back of the property. It will only be used for trucks for delivery, so that's one of them. The other one is on Wellman Street and will be an entrance and an exit there. We just hope you'll give us permission to do them in accordance to the plans that were approved by the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. When Mr. Clancy and I will answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Attorney Elides. Is there anyone else who'd like to come to the podium to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Move approval by Councilor Mercier, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian.
I just have a question of Mr. Elides. Can you tell us what the status of this project is? I mean, this is the next step. You need curb cuts, but where?
Brian would love to tell you.
Just for the people at home and myself want to know where it is.
Brian Clancy, National Development, 2310 Washington Street in Newton. Members of the council, thank you for having us here tonight. The status of the project is we're trying to get going on or about November 1st of this year to renovate Hale Street for GES, which is the tenant that we have to move out of 790 Chelmsford Street. That requires an addition to the building and an extensive fit-up of about 60,000 square feet. We're planning on doing that through the winter. It's about a 4 to 5 month project, after which point we move them from 790 Chelmsford Street over to 121 Hale into a fully renovated building. And then we commence demolition on the 790 Chelmsford Street and the pad work for Lowe's, planning on delivering the pad sometime in the middle of July. And then Lowe's begins the construction of their store, and they're hoping to be open by the end of 2009. So we were delayed about 18 months through the appeals, unfortunately. But we've gotten over those hurdles, and Lowe's is really excited to be a part of the city. And you know, throughout this economic crisis that we're experiencing, Lowe's is ready, willing, and able to go forward, and they've chosen Lowell as a preferred location. They really would like to get open in 2009.
I must say, Mr. Clancy, you've been a perfect gentleman through the entire process.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussions? If not, roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There is a second part to this vote. It's a separate vote altogether, but a petition of Connector Park Holding LLC to the City Council of the Lowell, Massachusetts. The undersigned property owner hereby petitions the City Council of Lowell, Massachusetts, acting through a City Council and City Manager, to rename the public way in the City of Lowell, currently named Composite Way, to Lowe's Way. This request is made by Connector Park Holdings LLC on behalf of Lowe's Companies Incorporated in connection with the construction of the Lowe's Home Improvement Center at Chelmsford and Wellman Streets and Composite Way. The only property with an address on Composite Way is the office building located at 59 Composite Way, which is owned by the said Connector Park Holding LLC. Motion to refer this to the Law Department by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. We will take a roll call on it. Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
That will come back from the Law Department with the proper vote, and we'll vote on it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, and good luck. The next item on the public hearing is a conduit location. Verizon to place 40 feet of conduit on West 3rd Street. Those wishing to speak in favor, please come to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Joseph Gleason. I'm a Redway agent with Verizon New England Inc. Our office is located at 28 Diana Lane in Drake. Mr. Mayor, the petition before you this evening is a request from Verizon to place approximately 40 feet of underground conduit from existing pole 665/2, which is located on the northwesterly side of West 3rd Street, approximately 150 feet from Bridge Street. If you've been over the bridge lately, you notice the Bridge Tavern is gone and a new drugstore is going in. Yeah. And this conduit is there to service that location.
Okay, thank
you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Public hearing is closed. Referred to the wire inspector by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's on its way to the wire inspector. Okay, moving on with the manager's agenda, we have a request for departments. There's out-of-state travel. Any questions or discussion on these requests from out-of-state travel? If none, roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Moving on with the agenda. Mayor Edward Bud Caulfield and members of the City Council regard the Lowell Cultural Council. Dear Mayor Caulfield, members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 10, Section 58, I have appointed the following person to membership on the Lowell Cultural Council: Janet Leggett, 301 Parkview Avenue, Lowell, Mass., which term expires September 23rd, 2011, or such time thereafter until a successor is appointed and qualified. Under the above referenced statute, confirmation by the City Council is not required. I've enclosed the resume for your reference. I would be happy to answer any inquiries that you may be concerning about this appointment. Accept the communication and place it on file. Any questions or discussions on this appointment? I don't think so. So, all in favor of the accepting the communications and place them on file by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. We have on Article 7, let me see, to complete the Gorham Street wrought iron gate repair for the City of Lowell Cemetery Department, ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the amount of $19,000 is transferred from perpetual care Fund number 8406 is more fully described in attachment A to cemetery general improvement account number 04914170-580301. Second request is order to purchase flowers and shrubberies for the cemetery for the City of Lowell Cemetery Department, ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $4,000 be transferred from Perpetual Care Fund number 8406 is more fully described in attachment A to flowers bushes account number 04914254-545100 for a total of $23,000. Any discussion or questions pertaining? Council Elliott.
Mr. Manager, could you explain what this will be used for? I see it's for the acre plan, but we're transferring $110,000 out of the perpetual, receipts reserved for appropriation. Am I in the wrong one? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the next one. Sorry, Mayor. No, I'm all set with that one, sorry.
Any other questions or discussion on this particular? If not, second reading by title, $23,000 cemetery, flowers and bushes, etc., from Cemetery Perpetual Care. Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Number 8, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kazanjian, second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. This will be going to a public hearing on October 14th if the council wishes so. Any discussion or questions?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Mr. Mayor, could I please suspend the rules to bring in my motion so that my motion can be brought into that ordinance?
Someone second that motion, we'll suspend the rule. Seconded by Councilor Kazanjian.
Thank
All
you.
in favor of the suspension of the rules signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The suspensions of an order.
Yeah, okay, thank you. This is a motion regarding requesting the manager have the traffic engineer install a no right on red sign at the light on Bedford Avenue at the Pawtucket Boulevard in front of the boathouse. I happened to be there getting a coffee the other day, and quite a few gentlemen kind of like have a political rally over there, and they asked me if I could know that there's a very dangerous situation there with people crossing the street from the neighborhood going across to the boathouse, which is being really transformed by the university, looking very nice. That boathouse is looking good. But as you're crossing the street, there's no sign there that says no right on red, so naturally the traffic is taking a right on red, but this is what they do. They look down like that to see if there's any cars coming, and they're turning the corner and not realizing that people are ready to cross the street. So I think that that's warranted that a sign be there saying no right on red.
Council, let me read your motion.
Okay.
If it's seconded and voted on, then we'll move to
Okay.
okay? It's a motion taken out of sequence by Council Rita Mercia. City Council requests the city manager to have the traffic department install a no turn on red sign on Bedford Avenue with Pawtucket Boulevard in front of the boathouse. Seconded by Council Arman Mercia. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. The motion carries. Now, your second motion is you would like to
Included onto that, into the ordinance, so that it'd be
there'll be the
for the
public hearing October 14th.
Right, there you go.
Okay?
Sure.
So
that
there's
it
a
can be
motion
included
presented by Councilor Mercia that she'd like to get her motion
on that
also
ordinance.
included
In the quarterly report.
quarterly report for
Thank you.
public hearing October 14th, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Motion carries. So it will be.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, can we make sure that is on the, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that's going to a public hearing October 14th. Let me see. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 11 thereof entitled License and Permit Fees and Other Charges. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Armand Mercier. All in favor signify by saying aye. The full reading has been waived. The second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 11 thereof entitled Licenses and Permit Fees and Other Charges. And that will be going to a public hearing October 14th, if that's what the council would wish. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I was looking at the information that you provided us relative to this, and this is discussing an increase, a sewer increase to pay for the $35 million bond that was voted on previously. I had some questions on the forecast fund of the wastewater enterprise fund.
Councilor, I think you're
confusing.
We're in the recreation fees motion.
I'm 0 for 2, I'm sorry.
So that's going to the public hearing October 14th. That is license, permit fees, park use, October 14th. Any problems sending that to a public hearing? Signify by saying aye. No, so it's going to a public hearing October 14th. Now we're going to go to ordinance amend sewer use charges. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Section 18-192 of Chapter 18, Article 4, entitled Annual Sewer Use Charges, second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Section 18-192 of Chapter 18, Article 4, entitled Annual Sewer Use Charges. That is slated for public hearing October 14th. Councilor Elliott, would you like to talk?
Yes, I would on this. I'm sorry. I am paying attention. Mr. Manager, I'm looking at that wastewater enterprise fund again. Going down under the expenses, and I understand it's based on this analysis, we're running a deficit. Under other expenses is $5.755 million. What would that include? What items? It says all other expenses. I see salary and wages. I see health, dental, pension, debt service, capital plan, debt service, etc. And then that figure increases over the projection for the next 5 years. What would be included in that line item?
Well, all the line items were aggregated into that single line item for the forecast because the detail was in the budget, but there are probably 40 different line items that make that up. Things like chemicals, services, with regard to keeping the lines open and clear throughout the year, services to the treatment plant itself, sludge removal, grit removal, that type of thing.
So the three options that are going to a public hearing, and they are options, correct?
That is correct.
I am concerned. I know we have to do this work, but the increases are, they're steep increases, all three of the options. The annual rate for the one increase is $325 per household. The biannual is $407, and the one-time fee is $519. I think considering everything that we have recycling rate going up and costs just increasing generally, is there a way to lessen the impact of or structure this differently so these increases aren't as dramatic? Do we have to do the $35 million all at once? Can it be done in stages? I know we went out for SRF loans, but I'm afraid that this is going to come at a time when people are already struggling, and these increases are going to have a pretty significant impact. I see the increases going from
what we've recommended is that first off, the $35 million is not being done all at once. That is being phased in, and that's why the rates can be phased in as well. We recommend that the recommendation that we've made is that it be done on an annual basis, so that there isn't a big hit from 1 year. Certainly, a one-time increase would be an enormous hit at one time. What we're proposing here is the $32 increase per year, with the first year and then going up again in 2010, going up again in 2011, to keep pace with the infrastructure costs, the infrastructure improvement costs that have had to take place there. Once again, I think this is an example, and we talked about this when we made the presentation, and I know we're going to have a public hearing on this, but once again, this is an example of a treatment plant that was built back in the 1970s, I believe, late 1970s, that has not had any real capital investment during that over this period of time. And you know, we do have some serious issues there. I think we described during the presentation the screw pump that needed to be replaced, and the other modifications to be made there, the odor control devices that need to be put in place there. You know, I don't think you can underestimate in any way the importance of these utilities to the city. That wastewater treatment plant goes down, the city truly is crippled. Likewise, the water plant, and you know, we've made investments there, made decisions to, again, with some investments there, because once again, there hasn't been an investment over that an extensive period of time. It's far better to have a plan in place where items are replaced and improved on a regular basis, rather than waiting until we reach a point of that we've reached, that you have to make this large an investment to maintain this facility.
I agree, Mr. Manager, but people ask me in the street and they call, you know, they place calls and they ask questions. You know, our sewer rate just went up a few years ago.
Could I just interject, Counselor? If this is going to a public hearing, we have to be very careful of what we're discussing here, or we can delay sending it to a public hearing and send it to the Finance Subcommittee and discuss it at length.
It doesn't matter. I'm just looking for some information on what the impact of this, because I think it's significant, and people are concerned that their rates have gone up, but that was for CSO related work, and this is for the wastewater treatment plant. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you want to send it to me, Mr. Mayor, as long as you know I know what we're talking about and what the impact is going to be to the person at home.
Councilor Cassandra.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's a great idea. If we can postpone this for a couple of weeks and report to or bring it to a finance subcommittee, because as it is right now, I can't support it. I mean, we're going to be, well, okay.
If you delay sending it to a public hearing.
Right, because we've got rates
Maybe,
going. People, at economic times where they are, people just can't afford what's going on.
You know, the Finance Subcommittee and Economic Subcommittee would be a good venue to discuss this, but I mean, if I need a motion, if you want to delay sending this to a public hearing, I'll let it be known. Any other discussion? Manager Lynch.
Mr. Mayor, the only point I would make, and I certainly welcome the opportunity to you know, come back in and make another presentation, have Mark Young make a presentation on these improvements that were approved by the council several months ago. The only issue that we have is that in order to get into the pipeline for state funding under the SRF program, this has to be done by the beginning of November.
So you have a month to really have a...
We did apply for the money in July when we approved the 35. That was for the application in July, wasn't it?
It's a little more complex than that. There's a contract waiting to be signed for Camp Tresser and McKee to do some engineering. They need to complete that engineering by the end of October, so that engineering can be part of the submission to the State Revolving Fund for low-cost funding. Unless we approve this rate increase, we're not going to be able to go forward with that engineering, and it's a snowball effect. We lose out on the low-cost financing, so a delay may cost us in the long run in higher interest rates.
Can you, through you, Mayor, how much of that engineering, how is that being paid for this, and how much is it?
The engineering is going to be a combination of cash payments and bond financing at this point. The contract is for $5 million, so it's a sizable contract. we really can't move forward with that without certainty of revenue coming in to pay for it.
So it's $5 million just to design the work that needs to be done?
That's correct.
And do we go out for bid for that, for that contract?
Mark's here.
Or is it on an existing
We have
contract? or-
Mr. Young, could you speak to that issue?
I mean, if we're going to send this to a subcommittee, I suppose I could ask those questions. I'm not trying to delay this, but...
Yes, that was part of the contract that we did for facilities improvements. So that was put out to public bid.
This one was put out to bid? Okay. That's a lot of money for a design contract.
Well, it's roughly, it's in line with we're talking $35 million worth of work. It's in line with the going rate for this type of project.
Thank you.
Councilor Kazanjian?
I would just like to make a motion to bring this to a subcommittee next week if time is of the essence.
Delay sending it to a public hearing.
Correct, and bring it to a subcommittee with finance, economic, both subcommittee, if that works for everybody.
I think it's a very important issue both ways, no matter how you look at it, and it almost falls in the same venue as the trash ordinance. So I think the subcommittee would be wise, finance, economic subcommittee, and Councilor Broderick?
Just for scheduling purposes, we have 2 meetings in October. If we do this, there'll be a subcommittee report and a recommendation, I assume, that will come in on the 14th, and that would have to go to a public hearing at the end of October. And if we don't, for some reason, hit on that date, we're going to be on the hook for more money and potentially a problem with interest, higher interest. City solicitor has her hand up.
Clerk will help us.
Is it possible to, question to the solicitor, is it possible to have the city council place this on for the public hearing for the 14th and have the subcommittee meeting next week?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to suggest, that, and particularly absent any major changes to
Sure.
to the ordinance, then the ordinance would just go through. There could certainly be questions asked and answered as part of that as part of the subcommittee.
I think the concern from the council side that Councilor Kazanjian, I don't want to speak for him, but is that, or the mayor here, is that if we don't defer the public hearing vote, and if we set it on a public hearing, then we can't, or we have to be much more careful in terms of what we ask.
That's right.
And I mean, I don't have a problem either way. If we put it on for the 14th, I can wait and ask my questions then. It doesn't, I just want to be sure that we get it in time.
I don't have a problem with the 14th, as long as we can...
I just want to ask the solicitor a question. Madam Solicitor, if we do send this for a public hearing October 14th, and there's a combination of the Finance Economic Subcommittee have a meeting, wouldn't their hands be tied asking certain questions and risking the
It all depends, and for example, particularly if the rates actually went down, then there would be no need for any sort of re-advertisement, because you're already advertising arguably worst-case scenario. I don't know what potential changes would occur, if any, and in all likelihood, if there were no changes, then the public hearing, open to the public, continues as originally planned. So they could fully vet the issues at the subcommittee, and those questions may very well result in no changes. There may be changes requested or indicated to the ordinance. If that were the case, then potentially you'd be looking at.
Then you're saying the council's hands wouldn't be tied asking pertinent questions, even though it's going to a public hearing?
Right. They could always ask questions. The intent really is to keep an open mind and not
no vote, nothing pertaining to that.
Indicate what your position is. All right.
Councilor Broderick.
For the record, I would rather see, and I think we've discussed this as a body, I would rather see us go forward with a public hearing or hold it off and have a subcommittee. I'd rather do it at a full public hearing and just ask the questions and take a vote. I think if we put the public hearing on and have a subcommittee meeting, you got to tiptoe around it. You have to be careful what you state, because somehow you might show your hand in terms of what opinion you might have. And I think that we've kind of established, or we've tried to establish, not doing that. either go forward with the public hearing or don't and have a subcommittee. I think that's what we did on the trash, is we just said, look, let's hold off, have a subcommittee meeting. You know, I don't know as if there's many choices here in terms of funding it or not. So, you know, I don't have a problem going forward with the public hearing and airing it out and taking a vote.
You know, I feel the same passion as Councilor Elliott does on this issue too, and I think we should really discuss this at length, and don't be afraid of asking pertinent questions, and you know, but your convictions be there. And I didn't want the council's hands being tied if there's a public hearing in the future that you can't say nothing. And Councilor Cassandra.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'd like to strike that motion as far as delaying the public hearing, if we can continue the public hearing, but to August 14th.
October 14th.
October 14th, and have a joint subcommittee in the sometime next week. And this way here, if we have any questions that's raised and we need any information for the public hearing, I think it's going to be helpful for everybody at that public hearing.
Motion by Councilor Kazanjian to continue with the October 14th meeting, but also have a subcommittee meeting prior to the public hearing.
Right, a joint subcommittee with the Finance and Economic.
Right. Seconded by Councilor Broderick. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just request that we get, I know we were given a presentation, PowerPoint, in terms of what it was for, the 35 million. Could we, I'm sure Mr. Young will be there, but could we get that ahead of time as well? Because it's been 7 months or so, so I think we maybe need a refresher in terms of what the work's for. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions pertaining to this issue? This article is going to a public hearing October 14th, but there'll also be subcommittee meetings scheduled to discuss this. Moving on with the agenda. To take by eminent domain let me see, in fee a certain parcel of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of Oberlin Avenue, Carly Way, and Bridget Lane, and other municipal purposes associated therewith. Second reading by title. To take by eminent domain a fee a certain parcel of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of Oberlin Avenue, Carly Way, and Bridget Lane, and other municipal purposes associated therewith. Let me see where we are here. Public hearing October 14th. Any questions? October 14th, public hearing. Moving on with the agenda. Authorizing the city manager in the name of the city of Lowell to accept a deed to O'Hare Way in the city of Lowell from Kazanjian Enterprises. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Bill Martin. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading has been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager in the name of the city of Lowell to accept a deed to O'Hare Way in the city of Lowell from Kazanjian Enterprises Incorporated. Any discussion, any questions pertaining to this vote? If not, roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian, Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
7 yeas, 2 absent.
Next article on the agenda, to take by eminent domain in fee a certain parcel of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of O'Hare Way and other municipal purposes associated therewith. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading has been waived. Second reading by title, to take by eminent domain in fee a certain parcel of land in the city of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of O'Hare Way and other municipal purposes associated therewith. And that's going to go to a public hearing October 14th. Any discussion or questions pertaining to that?
The only question I have is how many items that we have for a public hearing on October 14th so far?
Eat your dinner before you come to the council meeting. It's going to be a long night. Okay, move. I mean, you're wonderful. Moving on with the agenda. Vote, the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby appropriates All right. The City Council of the City of Lowell hereby appropriates to the capital account from the receipts reserved for sale of city property for an appropriation in the amount of $110,002. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kazanjian, second by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. The City Council of the City of Lowell hereby appropriates to the capital account from the receipts reserved for sale of city property for an appropriation in the amount of $110,002. Any questions? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to I think, Mr. Backey, I see we're using $110,000 from the sale of property. It doesn't say in the memo what this is being used for. It does say it covers a portion of the city match requirement. Is this for more planning purposes, or is it for, what exactly will it be used for?
This one here?
Thank you, Councilor. This is as part of the acre plan. The overall acre plan budget includes both state and local sources, and the significant funding that goes into the acre plan is a $10 million grant over a period of several years that we've received from the state. There's about $1.2 million left, and that $1.2 million requires a match of city funds. This $110,000 is a contribution to that match requirement. The money will be pooled together and will be used for some of the remaining projects in Phase 2 of the acre plan. A couple of highlights that it's likely to be used for. We do have a couple of remaining small acquisitions that will have some minor relocation payments associated with them. We're also going to be looking at extending Cushing Street, which presently terminates in a cul-de-sac, so that it actually can have better access, and that will open up some economic development opportunity back there. And as part of along Rock Street, there's a proposed development of two-family homes that it's possible there'll be some minor infrastructure improvements that are necessary to support that project. Those are some of the activities that are planned that this money will be, again, pooled with a much more sizable chunk of state funds toward implementing.
Okay, so this is money generated from sale of property in the acre renewal area. It's not new tax money. It's right. Money that's sitting in an account that you have to supplement state money to continue with the plan. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Because Councilor Arman Mercia brought out a good point. The order of taking acceptance of Oberlin Avenue, Carly Way, and Bridget Lane. Public hearing will be October 28th. The manager suggested that we do that. Also, order of taking acceptance of O'Hare Way from October 14th to October 28th. So that will lighten the
Give us
agenda.
more time to discuss that rate decrease, increase.
So, any questions pertaining to that? So those two articles are going to a public hearing October 28th, and I think that fulfills the agenda for Manager Lynch. We're going to move on to, you got one more? We're going to move on now to subcommittee reports. Subcommittee reports. Councilor Kazanjian.
Thank you, Mayor. Last night we had a subcommittee on 1769 Middlesex Street. There's pertaining to a parcel of land that the city owns, and we're going to put it up for surplus. It's to sell in an RFP, and Councilor Rita Mercia was there, and Councilor Milonazo, and he was there also, and we all agreed and voted in favor to bring it forward to the for approval to the full body, and put it out for a surplus for sale for an RFP. And doesn't mean that Walgreens is going to purchase this piece of property. It could be anybody out there. And then once, which will probably take maybe 60 to 90 days, and once that is completed, we will bring it back to a subcommittee and go from there with the neighborhood. There was about 4 or 5 neighbors there speaking in opposition, so they were going to be back at the next subcommittee meeting and speak in opposition or in favor, whatever whatever they intend to do. Also, Council Broderick was there also at the meeting.
A motion to adopt the recommendation brought forward by the Neighborhood Traffic Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia. All in favor, signify by saying aye. That has been received and placed on file. I'll read the vote. Declaring surplus the property of 1769 Middlesex Street, Lowell, Mass., and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for the deposition of said parcels, namely 1769 Middlesex Street, Lowell. Any questions? Councilor Kazan.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to add one thing. Council Rita Mercy was there, and I don't know why I could forget her, so she was on the board, subcommittee also.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes, just briefly, a couple issues came up last night, and I was wondering if we could maybe, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager or solicitor, get an opinion as what the council's jurisdiction is on a matter such as this. Walgreens obviously came in because they were asked by the mayor. It's a good motion, interact with the neighbors and get information out there. But clearly this is going to be a public bidding process where everybody's going to be invited to participate. If we will, I assume, hopefully get a highest bid that will exceed the minimum bid, what could we get this? Maybe I don't necessarily need the opinion tonight, but in order to proceed at the subcommittee level, I think we could use some guidance in terms of what is our jurisdiction and what grounds do we have to say we don't accept the bid. Can we get into a plan in use and you know, in the things associated with what I consider to be typically a board function, because it's going to come up, and it started to the other night, and I think that we need to be prepared to make sure that we don't get ourselves in some type of mess.
Any other questions?
So we'll put something together for the council on that, to get a legal opinion to you on those questions.
Any other questions before I have a roll call?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor
The minimum bid price is $350,000, and those are from one or two appraisals.
I believe it's one appraisal.
One appraisal? Okay, and it's just a single lot. I think that's a good point that, you know, I know in the past there's been rating criteria on what the city's desired use is. I mean, it's essentially a piece of property that was a single-family home was there. In fact, I think the foundation is still there. The city has deemed that we don't have any use for it. I mean, $350,000 is a lot of money. So I guess we'll look forward to that opinion, whether it's a use that the city is interested in seeking.
Right. There's ways that you can structure the disposition, and we'll put some ideas together for you on that and bring it back to the council, and then determine how we want to move forward with that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Councilor Martin.
So this vote now is just declaring the property surplus?
Right.
It'd have to come back ultimately after the...
Right.
For final disposition?
Right.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo? Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
No.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Any other subcommittee reports?
7 yeas, I'm sorry.
Subcommittee reports. Councilor Elliott.
The flood subcommittee met this evening to continue the discussion on the number of issues that the city manager and T.J. McCarthy and the administration has been working on. It was it was an update on issues that affect essentially the Clay Brook area. However, the manager did give an update on Beaver Brook. Still working with the Army Corps of Engineers order, identifying certain items that have been completed and those that are still in the works. The vegetation order from the Army Corps in the Beaver Brook area has been taken care of. There are two issues, a seepage issue identified by the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as a pump station has to be completely rebuilt. Those items cost in the vicinity of $3.5 million, and the pump station approximately $6 million to repair. So that's the manager indicated that he's still working on that. The Clay Pit Brook area took most of the meeting, attention of the meeting. Manager indicated that he is still working with FERC on the backwater analysis, as well as the flashboards. Congressman Saunders' office, Brian Martin, as well as Amy Green attended the meeting. They're working with FERC on the flashboard issue as well. The concern from residents is the system that is in place is failing, but not failing to what the design should be, as it has been in the past. Manager indicated that there's a working group, an internal working group that stays on top of these items, these issues, and it was suggested and recommended that the work group include representatives from both the Beaver Brook and Clay Pit Brook areas to stay on top of these issues, because they're quite numerous, and having a working group meet on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, to stay on top of them, and to work in conjunction, with L and Congressman Saunders' office, as well as the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, will expedite and bring clarity to all of the issues that the subcommittee has been dealing with. So that's a quick recap of a meeting that took place tonight with the flood issues, and that working group, which will be comprised of the city administration and other various parties, will as I mentioned, meet regularly and bring those reports, recommendation issues to the subcommittee for action. It's a better process to streamline all of the issues that we've been working on. So that's a report of progress, Mr. Mayor.
Brought forward by Councilor Elliott. If not, accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, if I could at this time, are you all through with that?
No.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Accept the report and place it on file. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's been accepted, placed on file. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to suspend the rules again to get back to a previous vote that this council took and passed unanimously, the vote authorizing the filing of special legislation. I would like to bring it back and amend it, because I heard from people that said that one word in that whole, I'm not a legal here, but looking at one word should be changed, and I'd like to just talk about that if I could.
Why don't you bring that forward? First of all, let's take a vote. Who seconded the motion to suspend the rules? Councilor Kazanjian. All in favor of the suspension, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Suspensions are in order. And bring it forward, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It says authorizing the filing of special legislation to authorize the City of Lowell to provide a funeral and burial expense benefit to all permanent employees. I want to strike out the word permanent and put in the word to all full-time city employees. And the reason I say that is because permanent does not cover provisional. Now, provisional people are people that probably came in at a time when civil service was required. It isn't required today. Provisional people are not permanent employees, but they're more or less full-time employees, and that we have provisional people that worked in City Hall for 20, 30 years, and they're provisional, but they're not permanent, but they work here 40 hours a week. They're full-time, and I think out of respect for these people who have put practically their whole life into it, and there will be people coming in that will not be permanent people, there will be provisional people, and that was pointed out to me. So if we have the word to all permanent employees, and something happens to a provisional employee that's been here 30 years, they're not covered under this. I was asked to change it to all employees, but I said no, because I'm talking about all full-time employees. So I got the word full in there, so it covers provisional, and if you could support that, I would be...
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Elliott you second the motion? Councilor Elliott? Okay. On the motion, Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. Full-time, that would exclude, though, seasonal, I assume?
Yes.
It may be full-time
Yes,
in
it
terms
would.
of hours?
Yes.
You're talking about year-round, full-time
Yes,
employees?
that's right.
Okay. I don't know if we need to clarify that at all. It just, when you said that,
Well, I could say all employees, but I didn't. I said all full-time employees. which covers the provisional because they're full-time employees, but they're not permanent. So I would strike the word permanent and change it to all full-time employees.
Full-time instead of permanent.
Full-time, not all city employees, all full-time city employees.
Could I just have the Madam Solicitor weigh in on this?
Sure.
I mean, as far as full-time employees, by full-time, do we mean employees that are working a 35-hour work week or a 40-hour work week?
Well, those that are not seasonal. You know, we have some people that come in here from April to September or whatever, and they're not full-time employees. And I know that people are here on a full-time basis but get like 32 or 30 whatever hours. I would consider them as well, and you could stipulate that too if you wanted to.
Okay, I was just trying to get a,
Sure. But I didn't say all, because that would include, like, I don't know, people that are here just for the summer or whatever. I'm talking about people that are here, full-time employees, whether it's full-time covering them for a particular amount. I didn't say full-time 40 hours. I said people that work here 32 or whatever, they're practically full-time here, aren't they? Wouldn't that be? They're here all the time. Well, what do
Could I
we
make
get,
a
30?
recommendation that we send it to the law department to have the law department maybe come back with some suggested language and maybe...
Right, suggested language, because I don't want to send this off to the legislature and have it come back because we need to amend it again.
I think that's a wise move, to send it to the law department and come
If
back
we
with
could
the
do
proper
that.
verbiage. And
Sure.
a motion by Council Broderick to refer this to the law department and bring it back with the proper
Sure.
verbiage, seconded by Council Kazanjian. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
And it's a good point you brought out, Council. Moving on with the, there's no more subcommittee reports. All set with that. Okay, we have two requests on Article 16. Wire inspector petition on National Grid for poles of Andover and Chippewa Street. Refer it to the wire inspector by Councilor Ahmed Mercia, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Miscellaneous attorney Leonard Seamus for Lewis and Elizabeth Cassiofi. Refer it to the law department by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Yes, you'd like to speak?
It's going to be referred to the law department. Apparently, it's a request for an encroachment license at 555 East Merrimack Street, and apparently it's going to be referred to the law department.
Yes.
Fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see. We have a petition for Mary Schaefer, 27 Bauer Street, requests a handicap sign. Refer it to the traffic engineer. Is there any way, Mr. Manager, we could get this done expedited, or this woman's been looking for this for quite a while. I don't know if we can make that happen.
We'll try to make
Could
that
you
happen,
please?
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have National Grid, a pole location, National Grid to place one pole on Plain Street, hearing October 14th. All in favor of sending this for a public hearing October 14th? Signify by saying aye. What's that? Oh, okay, we're going to move that up to the October 28th. Well, you need that right, you need that quickly, don't you? Yes. We need, October 14th, we need, that's a deadline, so we have to have that October 14th, and we'll make that go smooth, so.
I got to catch up on my hands.
We have 5 property claims, property damage, referred to the law department by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? They're on the way to the law department. Motions by Councilor Rita Mercer. City Council requests the city manager to have the proper department place a crosswalk on Pine Street at Hawthorne Street, seconded by Councilor Ahmed Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself, but I've been having discussion with a woman that's the traffic supervisor over there for the particular schools getting out, and it's very dangerous over there. And I should have also amended this motion to include the speeding that's going on in that area. I know probably a crosswalk won't save a life. I don't know if they're going to speed, but I would like extra patrol around Pine Street, Hawthorne, in the Daily School. And then further down, you get the Bailey School as well. So in that particular area, if we could have a little more coverage for the police department. If I could just add on to this motion, Mr. Mayor, because I probably should have included this too, that there is a street called Campbell Drive, and Campbell Drive goes down to the other end whereby it meets up with a synagogue. And at that synagogue, there is a sign that says, "Do not enter from the hours of 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m." It should be extended to be from 7 to 9 a.m. It should be extended another half an hour. People didn't realize, but children are still going into school and walking it, because there's another layer of time where the children can still get there, and 9 o'clock should be the extent. It should say, "Do not enter from 7 to 9 instead of 7 to 8:30, so I'd like to see if there's a way we could
Could
do
we
that.
have the traffic engineer examine all the signs that are there? Because there's a lot of signs.
Well, the others do say 9 o'clock.
Oh, they do?
That's why I don't understand
Oh,
why
okay.
this one does not.
Oh, okay.
This sign is the only one that says 8:30, so the others are all right, they say 9. But anyways, if we could paint a crosswalk, and that's the extent
Okay.
of that area right there, thank you.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Motion by Council Rita Mercy. The City Council requests the city manager of the city traffic engineer address the neighborhood concerns regarding possible bridge work between Martin Street and Stratham Street. Seconded by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is my understanding that there is talk of rebuilding the bridge between Morton Street to Stratham Street. Now, I don't know that because this is the first I hear about it, but neighbors are telling me about that, and they have the following concerns. They worry that they're not being heard, that they're left out of the loop with these rumors that are going on. They don't know if it's true, they don't know if it's not true, they're concerned about the things that they're hearing there. So I think communication is very important. We need to keep them into the loop. And they worry about these complaints. The Stratham Street residents are told that the only driving exit available to them during construction will be Knapp Avenue. They think it's a pretty inconvenient detour. I don't know. And there's rumors that there will not be a pedestrian walkway over the bridge during the construction. They say that this is problematic for the Morton Street, Epping Street neighborhood people who use the park. It's especially concerning for the children who walk to the Pine School, who may now have to cross over railroad tracks rather than walk around to Boylston Street. And that's a rather large hike for them. The residents would like some input into the design that'll take place there. They're asking me for speed bumps, but I don't know that that's even possible. I mean, everybody in every street wants a speed bump, but I don't believe that can happen. I think there's a lack of communication here if they're hearing rumors and they're not really up on it. So I would just like to see if we could, and I don't know that this is happening or not, but if we could get some input as to what's going to happen there and how can the neighbors, I don't know if they have a neighborhood group in that area, the Riverside, I don't know.
What street is that, Councilor?
Epping, Morton, Stratham.
Yeah, that's the
Riverside,
Sacred Heart
Sacred
Neighborhood
Heart.
Association.
If we could
Councilor
get
Martin?
flyers or something out there.
Yeah.
Well, that neighborhood group covers that area.
Yeah.
Sacred Heart,
Riverside.
Sacred
yes.
Heart.
Yeah.
Well, if
Cal-
they could
Cal
be
McCarthy.
made aware of what's going on, I don't know myself, so.
Sure.
Manager Lynch?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I believe that's a Mass Highway project. Lisa DeMeo is here, and I believe there have been some public information sessions put on by Mass Highway. One of the issues, as I understand it, is and actually, Council, this ties in, I believe, with a motion that you made last year regarding the cut-through traffic going through the Pine
Yes.
School.
Yes.
The principal there has had concerns, and I know that Representative Nangle has had concerns regarding the way that traffic goes through that school. And so the work that's been done there, for planning for this, and that his, bringing the neighbors together to talk about it, has all of the traffic going one direction out. And I know one of the concerns of some of the residents there is that they want to be able to cut through the Pine School going the other way out to Berkeley. And so that's really the source of quite a bit of the issues there. But we'll certainly see if Mass Highway can do some other outreach and try to talk to. But this is not a city project. This is
I know that.
Okay,
They know that it isn't. I
Okay.
told them that. It's
Yeah.
a state, but
Right.
they're not being informative to the point where the neighbors are concerned. So I think we ought to see if we can help them out through this contacting the state and making us aware
Yeah,
of.
I do know that there's one resident in particular who's been dogging this issue and doing quite a good job at it. And I know that he's had considerable communication with Mass Highway, because we've received copies of some of that correspondence that's gone back and forth. But we will see if there's anything else that can be done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on that particular motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next motion by Councilor Kazanjian. City Council requests the city manager to explore the possibility of installing lights at Calvary Park, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. On the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a phone call from some of the youth organizations, and they want to know what we can do as far as exploring the possibility of excuse me, lights at Calvary Field. And they've went around to the neighbors and got 25-plus petitions, signatures signed on the petition. And also, they've been working tirelessly with Verizon and National Grid that will donate some poles on the field to support the lights. So I just wonder if we can bring it forward to the proper channels, and whether it's Board of Parks or Tom Belgard or wherever we have to go. So,
Manager Lynch.
I think that, Council, we can have the parks people put together some cost estimates on the light, what it would cost to put lights out there. The Verizon and National Grid have been good, I know, in a number of areas here in the city and other communities to donate poles, and it's the issue of installing the poles. In some cases, they do that as well, but then there's the light fixtures themselves that are pretty costly. And then, of course, one of the issues that we're grappling with right now is the cost of the electricity to operate these lights. I've certainly heard from the City Council regarding the concern regarding budget and living within, the costs and not going up additional.
Absolutely. If it's going to cost too much, and then
we'll certainly explore the
But if it's not going to be a big
possibility.
expense,
Yep.
where we can do the lights in-house with our city electrician, and it
Exactly.
won't cost the city that much money, whatever we can do, so.
You just want to explore it to see.
Explore
Right.
the possibility. I'm not saying just go ahead and do it. Let's explore the possibility of
Any
putting the lights.
discussion on this motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Motion by Mayor Caulfield. You mind if I present the motion from the chair?
I'd like to have this
What? Motion by Mayor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager have animal control and police department strictly enforce the leash law, and to investigate the possibility of instituting restrictions on pit bulls up to and including muzzling. Seconded by Council Broderick. Approximately 12 days ago, on Middle Street, downtown, a gentleman was walking a service dog, an English Labrador, and it was an individual who had a pit bull dog, not on a leash, and the dog ran across the street and attacked that dog. And if someone didn't come out with a fire extinguisher, eventually that dog would have killed that dog. What if it was a person, a child, an elderly person? I think enough is enough. And through the efforts of Sergeant Norman Lavassa, he has furnished me with communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts who have restrictions on these dogs. Not only a thoroughbred pit bull, but a breed of pit bull. Amesbury, Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, Canton, Massachusetts, Everett, Massachusetts, Haverhill, Massachusetts, Holyoke, Massachusetts, and there's other communities that are looking into ways of addressing these animals. There are many people who say, well, there's nothing wrong with the breed, it's the person who owns the dog. We can't wait around to find out if we're going to have the right person owning the dog. It's reached a point where we have to protect the citizens in this city. And Boston, Massachusetts not only have a restriction on these dogs with a muzzle, but they also had to put a sign on their home indicating a pit bull resides here, or a half-breed pit bull resides in that building. I just want to refer to the law department, see if we can legally do this. Other communities have. I would furnish this information to the solicitor, but I don't think this council wants to wait around, the manager wants to wait around to have one of these dogs attack a person. Because once they attack a person or a dog, they do not give up. They don't give up. And for what I was told, that animal was hit with everything you could think of. Even mace, the dog didn't give up. The only thing that made that dog give up was a fire extinguisher, the CO2 into the dog's face. And I just think as a community, we have to step to the plate, protect the citizens that live here, and the animals as well. So, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. It seems more often than not we do hear horrific stories regarding these dogs. My question would be to the city clerk. Approximately how many pit bull dogs do you know are registered? Because people register their dogs in the clerk's office. Maybe you can get us that information.
I wouldn't have the number off the top of my head. I could provide that to the city council.
Okay, how many dogs do we have registered in the city, ballpark figure?
There's around 1,200.
Around 1,200 dogs, okay. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Wiedemeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, the fact remains that this dog was not on a leash. Do we not have a leash law? We do.
Yes.
And who gives a ticket out? The animal control?
Yes.
So what are the odds that the animal control can be everywhere?
Right, and the police.
I don't know why the police can't have a ticket.
I believe they can, Counselor. And
They can?
Yes.
Because they should be. People should be having their dog on a leash. You could have the greatest dog that is so obedient and well-trained, but something can happen, and they can bite someone or be distracted or get stung by a bee and go berserk. I don't know. They belong on a leash, and that's what should have been happening here. Mm-hmm. These kids had that dog, and he wasn't on a leash. And isn't that an inconvenience? But at the same time, the owner of this service dog really went through a grave time, and it could have been much more serious than that. The dog had to go through an operation, and it was quite expensive. And so we have laws. We have to enforce these laws. I'm sure there must have been someone downtown that was a police officer that could have ticketed this person. It should be, mandatory that automatically the police are going to give you a ticket and a fine for not having your dog on a leash.
The issue here, even if the dog was on a leash, they are so powerful and strong, and that dog broke away from the owner. If the dog had a muzzle on, the dog couldn't do any damage to anybody. And that's what has to happen. The dogs are very aggressive, and once they get to that point of aggressiveness, they don't give up. And it's something that we have to deal with. So I would like to refer this to the law department, let the solicitor look at it. There's other communities that have stepped to the plate, and I think Lowell should do the same. So that's the motion. And any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. I want to thank Sergeant Lavassa for furnishing me that information. So, thank you. The last motion of the evening. by Mayor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager to have the proper department place a crosswalk on Beacon Street in the vicinity of McAuliffe School or the Robertson School, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Mr. Manager, I received a call from a parent that has children going to those schools, and I guess there's no crosswalks in that general vicinity, and I know you have to go through to put a crosswalk there, but that's the request, that's the motion. If you could look into it, I appreciate it. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Clerk, on the agenda? Before we adjourn, I just want to say that, you know, I'm proud of this council. I'm proud of the Lynch administration, Department of Planning Development. This council unanimously voted tonight to create and start developing almost 15 acres of land in the Jam area. It's one of the largest projects any city could undertake. The city of Lowell is doing it while other communities are falling on hard times. So I think it's a credit to everybody who hung in there, all the people who attended the subcommittee meetings, Mr. Manager, your staff, Adam Becky and DPD, Trinity Finance, and the Lowell delegation. Without them, we couldn't have moved forward. But it's a great happening for the city, and I just want to congratulate the council for weighing in on this very important project. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Armand Mercier, seconded by Councilor Bill Martin.